On count one of involuntary manslaughter as to Madison Baldwin, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter. On count two of involuntary manslaughter in regards to Tate Muir, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter.
Hello, my friends. How's it going? Today we're going to talk about Donald Trump's appeal. Just kidding. I told these guys, finally, we're going to talk about something other than Donald Trump. So I am super excited. I'm going to hold off. Hopefully he doesn't do anything silly in the next week or two. Maybe we could go on a what's it called when you do things at a few consecutive run? A hot streak of no Donald Trump lawsuits. But I swear to God, I could teach a whole law school just on Donald Trump's different cases. Today, we're going to talk about Jennifer Crumbley, and she is the mother of he was 15 at the time, and he went to his high school in Michigan, and one of those very sad school shootings, 4 Michigan high school students. You guys remember this, right? It was in November of 2021 in Oxford, Michigan. And for the first time in our country's history, the parents of the 15-year-old school shooter got charged with manslaughter. And the mom had her trial. The dad's trial is coming up. And the jury found the mom guilty of manslaughter. She's been sitting in a Michigan prison for 2.5 years so far. And the sentencing is coming up. So we're going to talk about that case because she didn't, she wasn't there the day of the shooting. She didn't shoot anyone, so she didn't hurt anyone, like directly. And she got nailed for, and we'll go over it, but basically having a gun and having it accessible to a teenager. The teenager takes it to school, this and that, and like I said, what happened. All right. So let me set this up. There's a family of 3. Zeke, how do you point 3? Is it this way?
3 Gläser.
All right. There's 3 of them. Mateo, hey, Mateo, why are you flipping me off, dude? That's only one. That's only one, dude. That's 2. All right. So there's 3 of them, the mom, the dad, and he was, like I said, 15 at the time of the shooting. The Ethan is the son's name. And basically, so this, again, it's happened in November 2021. I keep saying the date because it was in the middle, so to speak, of COVID. And COVID had, one of the things that he claimed like upset him more was the isolation during that time. And then, also the parents have said, the isolation during that time was difficult for them. And they have a single kid and they had to work and the kid was not going to school, So, okay. So, and then a lot of the problems. The jury trial for the mom, all right, there was no trial for the kid because he pleaded guilty and he got a life sentence without the possibility of parole. The mom did not plead guilty to manslaughter. And manslaughter, by the way, is when there's not a direct, like a shooting, the defendant is not charged with directly killing someone, but they could be charged with this indirect, or it could be they directly kill someone, but they didn't intend it. Like if someone was drinking and driving and kill someone, that is what we call manslaughter, meaning it's not murder. There wasn't like an intent to kill somebody, but you were so stupid or so reckless that, you kill someone. So that's basically what they're charging the mom with. You were so reckless in how you had a gun in the house. The gun was accessible to the kid. The kid had all these underlying mental issues that were obvious to see that you didn't do anything about, and you didn't lock the gun, well enough type of thing, right? And so because you were so reckless, you caused the kid, to go and shoot and kill 4 students at the high school. That is a pretty big charge, wouldn't you say, Mateo? First in our country ever. And, the prosecutor so far 1 for 1 in all of these charges. Okay. So in March of that year, about 8 months before, this is where the court is starting to ding the parents for kind of like these alleged problems that the kid is having. And some of those problems that year were things like he would text the mom and dad, things like there's someone in the house. And this is again, March of 2021. So he's like alone all day. The parents are gone all day, not to any fault of their own. They're working, and so they're gone all day. He's alone all day, and he's texting at some points. I think someone's in the house when there was no one in the house. I think someone just ran in the bathroom, flushed the toilet, left. I'm scared and things like that. So they would kind of call him and try to sort out what happens. And sometimes they didn't call him. Sometimes like he would text us and they would just like kind of blow it off. He said at one point, somebody's throwing like plates and bowls around the house. I don't know who it is. I'm not kidding. This is really effed up. And they didn't do anything in the sense that they didn't like go seek help or, and this is 7 or 8 months before. And then those type of things, continued a little bit. They just thought he was trying to, I don't know exactly what they thought, right? But they didn't think it warranted some sort of, oh my God, he's going to go shoot the school. Like they didn't think that, definitely. They didn't even think it, warranted going up to that level. I know that her lawyer in closing argument said, look, kids, they just text the darndest thing sometimes. And sometimes you don't know if they're joking, they're trying to annoy you, they're trying to get your attention, they're trying to, whatever. So these things were not something that alerted the parents of some sort of need for immediate, counseling. And not to say that immediate counseling would have, helped or not helped. I don't know. Who knows? And then another thing is, at one point when, she would text the dad, and all of these things came out in the trial, all of their text messages. Did you guys know that if you delete a text message and the other person that has the text message deletes it also, the text message more or less is gone. Like nobody has it, and so, but in these cases, one of the parents or the kid, they had the text message. That also came up in trial because these text messages were on the kid's phone, but a lot of them were not on the mom's phone, showing that maybe she deleted them. You see, and so it kind of came up that way. Had the kid deleted it too, then it could have just never been recoverable. That's why a lot of like athletes and actors and stuff, what do they do every year? They just get rid of the phone and then get a new one, just so they don't have as much evidence on them. Not that they're doing something criminal, but could be whatever. They're having an affair. They're doing this, they're doing that, whatever it is. They just don't want the media to one day get that phone. And one thing I can't believe that they did was he was texting his friends and he would send disturbing texts back and forth with his buddies. I don't think that should have been admissible evidence in the mom's trial because there was no evidence that the mom or dad, reviewed. Would it be reviewed those messages or viewed those messages? I'll go with viewed those messages, all right? So there's no evidence that they viewed those messages. Typical Joe Samo. I ask a question and I answer it before the person has it. What do you think, Zeke? Viewed or reviewed those messages? What do you want to go with? Sneaking a peek. This guy, I'm talking about messages on a phone, not, All right. I don't know what he's thinking, Mateo. Read? Oh, look, okay. They didn't read those messages. There was no evidence that they read those messages. So I don't think they should have been admissible. But, the judge obviously disagreed and ruled that they were dismissible. So some of those texts that he would go back and forth with his buddy, but this time I'm going to tell them about the voices. I only told them about the people I saw. So he's telling his buddy about these hallucinations or whatever you want to call it. And this is a big one. The kid, Ethan is his name, is the guy that's serving life in prison for killing these 4 people, for 4 innocent high school students. He texted his buddy that when I told my, basically I'm paraphrasing here. I told my dad about this I need medical help. And my dad told me to just, basically shut up and suck it up. Okay. Now the dad doesn't admit to saying that or doesn't say that he said that. And it's a very strange thing. This is the kid telling another kid that on a text message. So that was admissible. So the jury heard that, obviously that is going to be an issue on appeal. Then there's more. The one thing I thought that was kind of funny, the court had in an opinion, while many of the messages contained normal teenage banter, Others involved conversations about wanting guns and making plans to buy them. So there was some text between him and his buddy going back and forth about, check out this gun, look at that gun, I want to buy this, I want to sell the, whatever. But the part I like there is normal teenage banter. That sounds like a scary phrase, huh? Mateo, what do you and your buddies talk about? That's normal banter, the normal teenage banter, huh? Let me see your phone right now. Okay. No, that would be scary. I'd have to wash my hands if I saw that guy's phone, right? Okay. So anyhow, I think that was unfair to bring up. And that pales in comparison to apparently the kid kept a journal. And in this journal, he had 21 pages. And every single page of the 21 pages talked about doing a school shooting. Now, the parents, I think, just like the text messages, I don't know how that's relevant to the parents' case, but the journal was read to the jury, and obviously it was not good because he would write things in the journal, things like, I will cause the biggest school shooting in Michigan's history. Sadly, he did. I will kill everyone I effing see. I'm not saying the bad words. I'm just kind of cutting that part out. He also wrote, I have fully mentally lost it after years of fighting with my dark side. My parents won't listen to me about help or a therapist. I have zero help for my mental problems, and it's causing me to shoot up the effing school. That is very bad. I mean, or not bad, but that's, obviously very scary. And that was read to the jury. There's it's a tough one. What does the prosecutor think the parents should do? Read his journal? I mean, I don't know. And all I could say is if I had a journal in high school, thank God no one would read it. They would think, oh my God, Joe Samo, this dude, not that they wouldn't be afraid I'd shoot up the school. They'd be afraid of what was going on in my mind, But I mean, I don't know. I don't like to read my kids' stuff. You know what I'm saying? I don't like to read it. If they do keep a journal, I probably wouldn't open it. Zeke, you look like would you? He's not answering. I won't put you on the spot. Okay, so he kept the journal. His journal was really bad. Yeah, obviously, like I said, it's very scary. Then, and this is where it gets a little, on Black Friday, you know how they have those great deals on Black Friday? What do you like to get on Black Friday, Mateo? What's your favorite Nintendo game or something?
Machine gun! Machine gun!
Ethan's dad got him a gun on Black Friday. Kind of an odd gift on a Black Friday. You ever buy a loaded pistol for a kid on a Black Friday sale? And this is obviously where the case kind of takes a bad turn, so to speak. So he bought him a gun. I mean, the law in Michigan is that you can't be 15 and own a gun. So the dad bought it in his name, but it was basically for the kid. The kid would post pictures of the gun, check out my new gun on Instagram, and things like that. That is not good, I think. What do you know, right? On November 26th, the dad went and purchased this gun. It was Black Friday, a 9mm Sig Sauer handgun. And this, like I said, that it was, that's where everything changed. And he posted these pictures on Facebook, or sorry, not Facebook, Instagram, which is owned by Facebook. So I guess I could have said that. All right. Then the mom takes him out, like a mommy-son date, to the shooting range. I mean, it's not illegal, I guess, so it's fine. It's legal to take a minor in Michigan to a shooting range, and in California, you want them to shoot well. I mean, I don't know. I'm at a loss here. But she took him to the shooting range, and they went shooting and all that good stuff. Then, this is according to the parents, they kept the gun, kind of safely stored, out of sight, that thing in their bedroom. The kid, he kind of did his parents a obviously deserves, but even during the trial, the kid did not want to testify, even though he pleaded guilty and he's life in prison. He didn't testify in his mom's trial. He could have testified and he could have said, yeah, they let me keep the gun in my room, or he could have testified that they kept the gun in it. I had to search for it. I had to break the lock, or I had to like search the code or whatever, but he didn't say anything. So we don't know exactly. And, depends on who we listen to, or who obviously the jury didn't think the parents kept it locked up in their room in a way that would be inaccessible to the kid. They thought that the kid just had it in his room because it was his gun. There's photos of it on Instagram, and that the parents were laissez-faire about it. Okay, the day before the shooting, in school, this kid, Ethan, he started, he would write kind of like disturbing things in class and do disturbing things. The day before the shooting, he's on his phone and he's searching for ammunition, to buy ammunition, and what kind of ammunition is, better, and blah, blah, blah. And one of the school teachers noticed it and called the principal's office. There, they called the dean of students, so I'm just going to call it principal. And so they called the principal's office, and then the principal called them in. He's like, "What the heck are you doing? What's going on? Why are you looking up ammunition here at school?" Right? So he told him, "Oh, I'm just like kind of goofing around, nothing important, nothing big." And then there's this very important text exchange between Ethan and his mom. And that text exchange, he told his mom, because they told the mom that, "Hey, your kid was looking up ammunition and blah, blah, blah." And he told the mom, "No, it's no big deal. I was just kind of goofing around," basically. And she said, well, you can't do that. You can't do that at school. You can't like look up ammunition at school. And he said, "Yeah, I know. I was just goofing around, blah, blah, blah." And then this is where, because remember, the parents know about the gun. She took them to the gun range. They're gun nuts. Is that what it's called? Like they have a bunch of guns and, this and that, right? So she said, and this one played very, very poorly for Jennifer Crumbley at the trial. She said, "LOL, I'm not mad. You have to learn not to get caught." He responded with, IKLOL. Hit us, Mateo. You know what that means?
I know. Laugh out loud.
Yeah, dude, my kids come up to me and they're just like, FII, CBJ, KBC, Bobby, FIIT. And I'm like, what the heck did this homeboy just say? All right. So anyhow, so he's like, yeah, I know. That one played very poorly to the jury in the sense that, her saying, just don't get caught. I'm not mad you're looking at ammunition. Not good evidence, okay? Then the morning of, remember what I've said? I had a law school professor. He always used to say about evidence. Every piece of evidence is like a brick. And you want to build your case, you want to build the brick wall. One brick is not going to do it. You have to have tons and tons of bricks, and you have to like put them all together correctly, to have your wall. So this is just the prosecutor, all of these pieces of evidence, just one by one, is not a big deal. But maybe the ammunition one is, but all together, it's coming up to be a big deal, right? Now, the school didn't suspend him, and the school didn't kind of have any sort of disciplinary action, okay? But Joe Samo sneaking in dirty pictures in math class, I got suspended. The hell? No, sorry. Don't say that. I don't want that on my record. Can we edit that part out? What do you do? Just edit that part out, okay? So listen, so then it gets worse, obviously, and now we're on the day of the actual shooting. This is not going to go well. On the morning of the shooting, the mom went to work. The dad was kind of a pothead, and he worked at he delivered food. But they made a big deal out of this, the prosecutor. The day of the shooting, the dad went to go check on the sick horse. Like these couple of days, they were very nervous about one of their horses that was sick. And the prosecutor kept saying, they cared so much about the horse, but they didn't care about the kid who had all these mental issues. And I think, it could be explained that the mental issues are tougher to kind of deal with or see, for a lot of parents than like if the horse is sick. Like if this guy was sick, the kid, when he had like an intestinal issue or he couldn't, like his throat was green or something, I think they would have went to the doctor right away, but with the mental issues, it was just a little different. Okay. And I'm not, a lot of parents kind of don't understand it, maybe, who knows? But anyway, so the day of the shooting, it gets very, very bad in math class. He starts drawing in math class, and this is like around like right before 9 a.m. He had like a math quiz or something, or a math worksheet, and he drew things. I guess we could put this on, if to see it. But he drew a gun, and he says, the thoughts won't stop. Help me. Like, he drew that, and he wrote that in math class. Then he drew, somebody with all this blood coming out of his head, and then he wrote blood everywhere, and he drew a bullet. That is very bad. Okay, that's the morning of the shooting. All right, and the math teacher saw this and sent him to the principal's office right away with all of this, right? And the principal basically called the parents. The parents came in. The kid came in. They kind of talked about it. What's going on? Oh, I'm just goofing around. And then he wrote down that this is just a video game. So he's drawing video game scenes and stuff like that. And the parents are like worried. They even said to him, they said, no, you're not. This is like something bad. And then so they kind of had a meeting, and they decided that he should go seek counseling within 48 hours. That was the decision. Bad decision, because he had, unbeknownst to everybody but him, he had the loaded 6-hour in his backpack during this time. And so they let him go back to class. Yeah, they let him go back to class. I don't know. Is it all the parents' fault? I mean, the school let him go back to class. I would have probably said, you know what? Especially because I didn't write, he wrote other things. Like he wrote, my life is useless on that math sheet. That's not, I would have probably, if I was the principal, I would have said, let's get you help today, right? I mean,
go home and rest.
Go home and rest. Let's get you some help. You're not in trouble. Let's just get you some help, right? But they didn't say that. They said, how about within the next couple of days, go seek counseling. So instead, he goes back to class. This part is tough for me. So he goes back to class, and even his mom would text him and kind of check in on him and things like that. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. So later that morning, it was actually right at noon or 12:20. He went into the bathroom, got out his loaded 6-hour and his automatic 9mm, and went out in the school. And he waited until the school was in between classes, so that everyone's walking around. And by the way, this is weird. About just 20 minutes, his last text exchange with his mom sent him a text that said, you can talk to us and we won't judge. This was at 12:21 p.m. And then the kid wrote back, I know, thank you, I'm sorry for that, I love you. Then he went into the bathroom, he got out his loaded pistol, and then he went out and he killed 4 people, injured a bunch of other ones. He gets arrested without incident, okay? And then my goal today is to discuss the mom who is now in prison for everything that happened. The ensuing trial kind of goes like this. First, the parents appealed just the charges. And what that means, it's like in civil court, we call it the demur. The demur means even if these allegations are true, there isn't a viable case against us. That went to the trial court judge. The trial court ruled, no, if all these things are true, that this is how everything came down, then a jury could reasonably find that you are guilty of manslaughter. They appealed that to the appellate court, and after a couple of hagglings, there was some back and forth, the appellate court went into detail and said basically that it's fair that this can be a manslaughter charge. And I think this one is going to ultimately, come back to another appellate court later. The appellate court said, because there was negligence and it was this negligence that caused these incidents to happen. And there's this like crazy thing in law school. We call it factual causation versus proximate causation. Factual causation is, had they done things differently, but for the parents' actions would this not have happened? That always I hated all those double negatives in law school, But basically, no, if the parents were spot on and everything, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Obviously, the jury thought this would not have happened had the parents been spot on and not bought him a gun and left it accessible to him and not noticed his mental issues, blah, blah, blah. And then there's what's called the proximate causation. The proximate causation is kind of has an element of fault, like you caused this, your negligence directly, proximately caused it. And there's no fine line, but it's kind of imagine if, I decide, okay, cool, you can go on the airplane, I could tell my friend or my kid or whatever, you can go on the airplane and then God forbid there's an airplane crash. I factually caused it, meaning if had I just said, no, you can't go, nothing would have happened. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's that one. That one's a low burden. The proximate causation is but I didn't really do anything wrong. It wasn't my decision caused it. Do you see what I'm saying? But if the airline pilot was drinking, and drunk and flying, that caused it factually and proximately. Everyone, do you see what I'm saying? So here, that's going to be the big issue. It's yes, had the parents not bought him a gun and had they locked it or had they got him help earlier and blah, 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 probably none of this would have happened. But can you really pin all of this on the parents? The appellate court said you can. A jury can reasonably do it. Then they appealed that to the Michigan Supreme Court. The Michigan Supreme Court said the appeal is denied. This is my favorite sentence here. Because we are not persuaded that the question presented should be reviewed by this court. Meaning, go back to trial, and if you lose, maybe then we could. The question is ripe for us. The appellate court sometimes. I have another case that I'm dealing with, and it was before a trial happened. So the appellate decision was all done before the trial. One party appealed, and then my client was like, well, what's going on? So now there's not going to be a trial or blah, blah, blah. How long is it going to take? I said, well, the first 6 or so months, the court is going to decide if they can decide this issue right now. And then if they decide they can decide it, then they'll decide it. If they decide they can't decide it, they'll send it back to the trial court. So the appellate court said we could decide this case before the trial, and we rule that a jury could hear this, because you always want the case dismissed before a jury trial. That's your goal, and then the Supreme Court of Michigan said, no, have a trial, and then maybe we could consider it, come back if you lose type of thing. So the jury heard all this evidence. I think there was errors in the trial court that maybe the parents can come back here. And by the way, there was this Eminem song. You're an Eminem fan? I like Eminem. But because there's shootings all the time, right? And people killing kids all the time, blah, 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 right? But during you remember Columbine? That was before your time. Zeke, you remember Columbine High School? That was the biggest deal in our history, right? When it happened? Yeah, so... Eminem came out with a song right after, I think it's called The Way I Am, but he goes, and where were the parents at? Middle America, now it's a tragedy. Now it's so bad to see, because now this is a beautiful part of Michigan that all this happened in. And then all of a sudden, because Michigan, Chicago, California, they've never charged parents for a shooting of a kid doing something like this at a school. Never, ever, ever has it happened. Anyhow. So I think there was, the shooting was a disaster, right? I mean, the kid went with a gun and started shooting kids. There was blood everywhere. There was kids' bodies everywhere. Other kids that, didn't die, but they were injured. They were on the ground. The prosecutor showed all of that footage to the jury. He showed all that footage to the jury. He showed them the footage. I don't know why I have a paper. They showed it on a camera. By the way, this was all televised, this trial. Why can't the Donald Trump trials be televised? This one was. Anyhow, all of that was the defense counsel argued that should be excluded from evidence. That she said, the lawyer for the defendant said, Your Honor, basically, Your Honor, we will admit there was a shooting. We will admit 4 kids died. We will admit that all of that was horrible. Everybody admits that. So we don't need the jury to see the actual footage because it's not relevant to whether or not the parents, were negligent and caused this. Obviously if the kid said, I didn't do this, I'm innocent, and then show footage of the kid shooting everyone. That's obviously freaking relevant. But this is Joe Samo talking, I don't think it was relevant to the parents' case. You know what I'm saying? So that is going to come up on appeal. And that's how the appellate cases work. A lot of times, if you could show to an appellate court, because this case, is it over?
Nothing is over!
It is not over. So Jennifer Crumbley, the mom, the dad hasn't gone to trial yet. She's going to appeal this. Actually, she already notified that she's going to appeal this. But during the appeal, that's going to be a lot of what is at issue. It's like, why was it relevant to her case? I think she's got a point there. I don't think that those things are relevant. And she may win an appeal on that, but there's also another rule. Did you know the Sixth Amendment entitles you to a fair trial? That's important because it doesn't entitle you to a perfect trial. So an appellate court sometimes will rule that was an error that is reversible. It's reversible error. Like they shouldn't allow that evidence, but there was so much other evidence and they're obviously freaking guilty that it was still a fair trial. It wasn't a perfect trial. You're never going to get a perfect trial, but you're just entitled to a fair trial. I don't know if she's going to win on appeal. I think the following, and she's been in jail, like she was denied bail. So she has been in jail since she was charged in December of 2021. So she's been in jail for almost 2.5 years, and she looks like a different human being during that 2.5 years in jail. I think that either the sentence will be really low in the sense that it'll be low enough where she could get out soon, or I think an appellate court will give her some sort of break. I don't know. I think it's, what do you think?
How do you try the parents separately? How does that work?
Oh, they filed a motion to have separate trials. So sometimes they'll try defendants together, but here, because there was so many different things that the mom did and the dad did and blah, 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 that the court ruled, let's try them separately. Yeah, so there was a whole motion. Oh, there was also a motion that they wanted to change venue, meaning that they, instead of having this trial in Oakland County in Michigan, they wanted to have it, somewhere else. That lost also. But I think that one is fine to lose. I think they still got a fair trial in that county. I don't think the jury in that county would be more biased than a jury in a different county. What do you think? Fair deal?
Could the kid, that text that he sent saying that it's all my parents' fault,
Yeah,
that he wrote or whatever, is that testimony, and can he be brought in just to back that up?
the shooter did not testify in this trial whatsoever because he wanted his Fifth Amendment right to not testify against himself, which is weird because he already pleaded guilty and he's already spending life in prison. So what else can he? How else can he incriminate himself? But the court ruled if he doesn't want to testify, he doesn't have to. Question is, okay, all right, let's do it. You want a couple of dad jokes here? All right, we haven't done the dad jokes in a while, so come on, let's have a little bit of fun. What's that?
It's a tough episode for dad jokes.
Tough episode for dad jokes? Why? No, it's never a tough episode for dad jokes. Did you hear about the circus fire? It was intense. How do you catch a squirrel? Climb a tree and act like a nut. Da-da-da-da-da. I told my wife she should embrace her mistakes. She gave me a big hug. All right. What did the big flower say to the little flower? Hi, bud. I went to buy some camouflage pants, but I couldn't find anything. See you next week.